In a distant land where extremes of heat and cold collide, two powerful forces ruled the landscape: the lava monster and the snow monster. Deep within the molten core of a volcano lived the lava monster, a hulking figure of fire and molten rock. His body glowed with an intense heat, and wherever he walked, the ground beneath him melted, turning into rivers of lava. Far beyond the mountain, in the frozen tundra, the snow monster reigned supreme. His massive form was made of ice and snow, and with every step he took, the land froze beneath his feet, turning everything into an icy wasteland. One day, a strange phenomenon caused the borders of their domains to meet for the first time. The heat from the lava monster's territory and the cold from the snow monster's realm clashed, creating a line where fire and ice could no longer ignore each other. Curious, the lava monster wandered to this boundary, eager to see who would dare challenge his heat. At the same time, the snow monster felt the warmth creeping closer to his icy domain and decided to investigate. When the two giants finally stood face to face, they both let out a roar, their voices shaking the earth. Neither was willing to back down, and their ancient rivalry was born that day. "Who are you to invade my territory with your pitiful cold?" growled the lava monster, his eyes blazing with molten fury. The snow monster rumbled back, his icy breath freezing the air around them. "You speak of cold as if it is weak, but my frost can still your flames. Watch and learn how I freeze the world." The lava monster, intrigued but unimpressed, leaned in. "Show me then, ice beast. Let's see if your cold can withstand the power of my fire." The snow monster lifted his arms, summoning a swirling blizzard from the sky. The winds howled, and massive chunks of ice formed in the clouds. With a mighty swing, the snow monster hurled enormous ice balls toward the lava monster. Each icy projectile roared through the air, whistling like a frozen comet. But as they neared the lava monster, the intense heat radiating from his body began to melt them. The closer they got, the faster they turned into harmless steam, disappearing long before they could hit their target. The lava monster laughed, his booming voice echoing through the mountains. "Is that all you've got? My heat can melt anything you throw at me. Now, watch how I wield the power of fire." Raising his hands to the sky, the lava monster summoned blazing fireballs from the molten depths of his realm. Each fireball crackled and hissed with fiery energy, burning hotter than the sun itself. With a flick of his wrist, the lava monster sent a barrage of fireballs flying toward the snow monster. But as the fiery projectiles approached the snow monster, a strange thing happened. The intense cold surrounding the snow monster began to freeze the fireballs in mid-air. The flames crackled and hissed, trying to burn through the cold, but soon they were encased in thick layers of ice, freezing solid before they could ever reach their target. Now it was the snow monster's turn to laugh, his cold voice carrying on the wind. "It seems your flames can't even touch me, fire beast. My cold is far more powerful than you imagined." The lava monster, surprised but undeterred, replied, "You're strong, I'll give you that. But your cold will never overpower my heat." They continued to battle, throwing fire and ice at each other. But no matter what they tried, neither could land a hit. Fireballs froze, and ice balls melted. The landscape around them turned into a chaotic mix of frozen rivers and molten lava flows, but neither monster could defeat the other. As the day wore on and their battle reached a standstill, both monsters began to realize something. They weren't enemies. No matter how hard they tried, neither could overpower the other. They were equals, opposites in nature, but balanced in power. It wasn't about defeating one another, but understanding that they both had a role to play in this world. The lava monster spoke first, his fiery voice now calm. "We could fight forever, but neither of us will win. Your cold is as strong as my heat. Perhaps we are meant to exist together, not as enemies, but as forces that balance the world." The snow monster nodded slowly, his icy breath forming crystals in the air. "I see that now. Your fire brings life to the coldest places, and my frost keeps the heat from destroying everything. Together, we keep the world in balance." With a newfound respect for each other, the two monsters ceased their battle. The boundary between their realms no longer felt like a place of conflict, but rather a meeting point of fire and ice, heat and cold. The lava monster returned to his volcano, where his heat continued to melt the land and shape the earth. The snow monster retreated to his frozen domain, where his frost continued to blanket the world in ice and snow. Though they lived in separate lands, their powers now worked in harmony. The clash of fire and ice became a dance, not a battle, and the world was better for it. And so, the lava monster and the snow monster lived in peace, forever balancing heat and cold, fire and ice, in a world that needed both.